I think we're live. I think we are. Just testing. Don't mind me. Just making sure everything's good. Yep, we're live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to a different type of stream. We're gonna be doing a live reaction of to the historical debates, and because we're gonna have a couple of debates this coming up year, and I think this is a good place to start. Looking back at possibly the funniest debates ever, which happened in 2015, those were peak. So yeah, we're gonna be doing a couple reaction to some of these debates. If you have any suggestions for any reaction videos, I guess you could say streams. I don't think we're gonna watch old 2 hours. We're gonna like skip parts of it where they're like announcing who they are and stuff. But we'll watch, I would say, the vast majority of it. Now, throughout this, if you got any super chats, I recommend you send them. I'll get to every single super chat if anybody sends them. I recommend you do because, yeah, your questions for sure will be answered. And, yeah. Let's see here. The best debate you could possibly react to would definitely be the second Trump v. Clinton debate. Oh, that's going to be one we're going to do. That's saved for a different time. Okay. So, yeah, we're going to start a little bit. I'm just making sure everything's working. It is a 2 hour long thing, but I think most of that's like bullshit. Now, hopefully YouTube doesn't copyright me, but I'll stop in between some parts just to break up a little bit. And yeah, go watch Perot's debates. I may. Let's see. I really hope Trump shows up to the debates. Yeah, I think Trump has to show up. You can't just say, "Oh, I'm not going to show up to the debates." That's, I don't know. I don't like that. But yeah, so I'm going to skip to the part where they actually start the debate because we all know who they are. We got Christie, Marco Rubio, Carson, Scott Walker, of course, Mr. Trump, Mr. Orange Man in the center. Let's see. We got Bush, we got Huckabee, we got Cruz, Rand Paul, and Kasich. I think there's a second debate for this day, right? Wasn't there 2 debates? Right? For the first night. There was like one with George Pataki, I believe. Yeah, no, I'm just gonna, like, make sure nothing, like, crazy happens, so. Because my pro video got, like, copyright, so. Yay! Do you think Christie will run in 2024? I think he will. I think he's dumb enough to do it. Alright, let's get to the part where it actually starts, okay. Alright, let's do it. Let's start this.
Live from Quicken Loans Arena in Cleveland, Ohio. I'm Megyn Kelly.
Boo! Boo! Let's see. That was Dems 2020. Yeah, they had a bunch of debates. So, we're going to skip to where it actually starts. Okay, we're going to, because I don't want to get, like, strucken down. Please don't strike me down.
40,000 of you submitted questions, some of which you will hear us asking the candidates tonight.
As for the candidates who will be answering...
40,000? That's a lot of questions. How did Christie manage to win New Jersey? It wasn't as polarized back then, plus he ran a good campaign. That's why.
Those questions, here they are. Positioned on the stage by how they stand in the polls. In the center of the stage tonight, businessman Donald Trump.
Yeah! Mr. Orange! Man, I think he's going to be a good president one day.
Former Florida Governor Jeb Bush.
Boo!
Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker.
That's okay. That's okay. That's an old white one.
Former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee.
Yes, my man. Great.
Neurosurgeon Dr. Ben Carson.
I like Carson.
Texas Senator Ted Cruz.
Yeah, there's a lot of meh at this debate. I forgot, like, how bland. Outside of Trump, the entire field was just, like, meh. So.
Florida Senator Marco Rubio.
Nah. Back then, he was awful. Back then, he was terrible. But not.
Kentucky Senator Rand Paul.
good. I like him. I like
New
Rand Paul.
Jersey Governor Christie.
Boo!
And your very own Governor of Ohio.
Boo!
Kasich.
Boo! You suck! Boo! Yeah, this field was terrible. I forgot how bad this was outside of, like, Trump and, like, Ben Carson. Dear Lord. So I had to get a quick water break. Man, this is just... Oh, my gosh. The fact that we won 2016 is a miracle, but whatever.
Brett.
Okay, we get the point. Come on.
I think you would call that a home field advantage.
It might be. It might be. We'll see.
Come on, get to the debate.
It might be. The rules for tonight are simple. 1 minute for answers.
Okay, we're skipping this. I don't care about the freaking rules. We all know nobody's going to follow them.
Pleasant, no? We also have a big crowd here with us tonight in the home of the Cavaliers, as I mentioned.
The only reason people showed up to these debates was Trump. I guarantee you if Trump didn't run, this would be like a quarter full. Like a quarter of what it's currently at. I guarantee you. It's the only reason people showed up. Yeah, Kasich's awful. He spoke of the DNC.
And while we expect them to be enthusiastic, as you heard, we don't want to take anything away.
Yeah, we get the point. Come on.
Gentlemen, so we promise this is the only one tonight.
Let's go.
Only one. Is there anyone
Oh,
on
here we
stage,
go.
can I see hands, who is unwilling tonight to pledge your support to the eventual nominee of the Republican Party and pledge to not run an independent campaign against that person? Again, we're looking for you to raise your hand now. Raise your hand now if you won't make that pledge tonight. Mr. Trump.
Oh, man. That's peak Trump.
Mr. Trump, to be clear.
Oh, my gosh. I love it. Man, Trump was... Oh, Trump 2016 was amazing. Oh. That is a version of Trump we need. Nope, I'm not going to support the nominee if I'm not the nominee. Oh my goodness. That was amazing. Oh, I remember that. Oh, that's the Trump we need. Nope, I'm not going to support anybody but myself. Oh.
You're standing on a Republican primary debate.
I fully understand.
The place where the RNC will give the nominee the nod.
I fully understand.
And that experts say an independent run would almost certainly hand the race over to Democrats and likely another Clinton. You can't say tonight that you can make that pledge.
I cannot say. I have to respect the person that if it's not me, the person that wins. If I do win and I'm leading by quite a bit, that's what I want to do. I can totally make that pledge. If I'm the nominee, I will pledge I will not run as an independent. But and I am discussing it with everybody. But I'm talking about a lot of leverage. We want to win, and we will win. But I want to win as the Republican. I want to run as the Republican nominee.
So tonight,
this is amazing.
If another one of these.
This is what's wrong. I mean, this is what's wrong.
Oh, shut up.
He buys and sells politicians of all stripes. He's already, hey, look, he's already hedging his bet on the Clintons, okay? So if he doesn't run as a Republican, maybe he supports Clinton or maybe runs as an independent.
Okay.
But I'd say that he's already hedging his bets because he's used to buying politicians.
Well, I've given him plenty of money.
Just to be clear, you can't make we're going to move on. You're not going to make the pledge tonight.
I will not make the pledge at this time.
Okay.
Bruh. This is amazing already. We need more of these debates. Come on. We need more of this Trump already.
Gentlemen, our first round of questions is on the subject of electability in the general election. And we start tonight with you, Dr. Carson. You are a successful neurosurgeon, but you admit that you have had to study up when it comes to foreign policy, saying there's a lot to learn. Your critics say that your inexperience shows. You suggested that the Baltic states are not a part of NATO, and just months ago you were unfamiliar with the major political parties and government in Israel.
Okay, we got a super chat. Sorry, I got to pause this. $5 from Zachary Marionette. I think that's the correct way to say it. Trump brings a good point there. In order for the people to be loyal to the party has to be loyal to the people. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, his point is just like, okay, if the people are going to, if the party screws over the people, it's like, no. But that is a good point. I mean, if the party says F you, well, what's the point? It's like 2022. It's just, when will Trump and Paul get a room? Never.
And domestically, you thought Alan Greenspan had been Treasury Secretary instead of Federal Reserve Chair. Aren't these basic mistakes? And don't they raise legitimate questions about whether you are ready to be president?
I'm only here for Trump.
Well, I could take issue with all of those things, but we don't have time. But I will say we have a debate here tonight, and we will have an opportunity to explore those areas.
Goodness.
And I'm looking very much forward to demonstrating
I
that,
forgot
in fact,
how boring he is.
The thing that is probably most important is having a brain and to be able to figure things out and learn things very rapidly.
Jesus.
So, you know,
I like Ben Carson. Don't get me wrong. Ben Carson is a great dude. He is a great, what was the human development? He was the secretary for what department? I forgot, but he was this should be easy. It's like the HUD. He's the secretary of HUD, right? Yeah. I mean, his problem is he's so freaking boring. It's just like, dear Lord. But he's great on policy, so that's that. Ben Sinnix for 2. Imagine if Rufus was a debate moderator. Well, we already got an electability question back in 2015, but yeah, it was HUD. Urban housing, yeah. I couldn't think top of my head. Yeah, it's HUD. All the questions should only be to Trump, not these random dudes. Yeah, but he was good. He was like one of the only good like cabinet members Trump had. So
experience comes from a large number of different arenas. And America became a great nation early on, not because it was flooded with politicians, but because it was flooded with people who understood the value of personal responsibility, hard work, creativity, innovation, and that's what will get us on the right track now as well.
Like, he says a good point. He does make good points, but dear Lord, that was always his problem. Everybody fell asleep when you listen to this guy, but he was, if I would have voted in 2016, the primary, if I could have, I would have voted for Ben Carson. Or he would have been my second choice. Trump was my first, but Carson was second. Ben Carson for CDC director. I think it was good for HUD.
Senator Rubio, when Jeb Bush announced his candidacy for presidency, he said this: "There's no passing off responsibility when you're a governor, no blending into the legislative crowd." Could you please address Governor Bush across the stage here and explain to him why you, someone who has never held executive office, are better prepared to be president than he is, a man who you say did a great job running your state of Florida for 8 years?
Well, thank you for the question, Chris, and it's great.
We do dunk on Jeb a lot, but he was a good governor. He was a good governor for New York. Or not New York, for Florida, excuse me. But his brother. Yeah, I know. Whenever I check the thing, it goes black. My bad.
Great to be here tonight. Let me begin by saying this. I'm not new to the political process. I was making a contribution as the Speaker of the 3rd largest and most diverse state in the country well before I even got into the Senate. I would add to that this election cannot be a resume competition. It's important to be qualified, but if this election is a resume competition, then Hillary Clinton's going to be the next president, because she's been in office and in government longer than anybody else running here tonight. Here's what this election better be about.
Wasn't Huckabee elected before Hillary? I'm just wondering, wasn't he elected before her? I swore he was governor before she ran for the Senate in New York. I don't know. But, yeah, Jeb was a good governor. I don't know.
This election better be about the future, not the past. It better be about the issues our nation and the world is facing today.
Oh, I forgot about the gain of 8.
This country is facing an economy that has been radically transformed. You know, the largest retailer in the country, in the world today, Amazon, doesn't even own a single store. And these changes have been disruptive. They have changed people's lives. The jobs that once sustained our middle class, they either don't pay enough or they are gone. And we need someone that understands that.
You know, whenever you get like these side things, I always wonder, who's the shit poster that decides this? It's like, He was a part of the amnesty stuff. He was the son of Cuban immigrants. He has written 3 books. I guarantee you, it's some shit poster behind the scenes that's at Fox, typing it down who did what. Oh, man. Just outside of, when Trump's involved, this sucks. Okay, we got a super chat. That political guy for 10. Jeb Bush is my big ol'... Oh, my gosh. Stapleton is my... Ooh, Jesus. Chill, dude. Dude, I'm not gonna read half of that. It's, Let's see. Remember when Alex Jones and Rubio almost got in a fight? Yeah, I remember that. Wasn't that over, Sandy Hook? Then Alex Jones, get in a fight over there or something like that? I don't know. Written 3 books. Yeah, I don't know. It's some guy at Fox that's a shit poster and, ahead of the times. He just type random stuff down.
Single store, and these changes have been disruptive. They have changed people's lives. The jobs that once sustained our middle class, they either don't pay enough or they are gone. And we need someone that understands that as our nominee. If I'm our nominee, how is Hillary Clinton going to lecture me about living paycheck to paycheck? I was raised paycheck to paycheck.
That was actually good.
How is she going to lecture me? How is she going to lecture me about student loans? I owed over $100,000 just 4 years ago. If I'm our nominee,
Wait, what? Is that real? He owed $100,000 just 4 years ago when he was in the U.S. Senate? Wait. Hold on. Did this guy just run for the U.S. Senate just to pay off his loans? Oh, man. Are we getting the Trump bash, Bush jabs at each other? I think that's the second one. That's in South Carolina. That's where it gets, really good. That's where he, makes fun of Vietnam and stuff. Or not Vietnam, Iraq, I should say. That political guy for 2. Great news for Blake Masters. So true. So true. I mean, Miami Beach does have a lot of fruitcakes. Yeah, I get it, but who knows?
We will be the party of the future.
That was actually a good response.
Governor Bush.
Oh, here we go.
You have insisted
Please
that
clap.
you're your own man. You say you have a life experience uniquely your own, not your father's, not your brother's. But there are several opponents on this stage who get big applause lines in early voting states with this line. Quote, the last thing the country needs is another Bush in the Oval Office.
That's a valid point.
So do you understand the real concern in this country about dynastic politics?
Absolutely, I do. And I'm going to run hard, run with heart, and run to win. I'm going to have to earn this. Maybe the bar is even higher for me. That's fine. I've got a record in Florida. I'm proud of it.
God, I forgot how much of a nerd he looks like. I mean, seriously. Look at that. He looks so weird. I don't know if it's the compression from YouTube, but he just looks so bizarre. I don't know. Who knows?
My dad, and I'm certainly proud of my brother. In Florida, they call me Jeb because I earned it. I cut taxes every year, totaling $19 billion. We balanced every budget. We went from $1 billion of reserves to $9 billion of reserves. We were one of 2 states that went to AAA bond rating. They call me Vito Corleone because I vetoed 2,500 separate line items in the budget. I'm my own man. I governed as a conservative, and I governed effectively. And the net effect was, during my 8 years, 1.3 million jobs were created. We left the state better off because
the population
I
increased
applied
by 50
conservative
million
principles in a purple
people.
state the right way, and people rose up.
God, he looks weird and he sounds like a nerd.
Mr. Trump.
Oh, here we go.
One of the things people love about you is you speak your mind.
Yes!
And you don't use a politician's filter.
Here we go.
However, that is not without its downsides, in particular when it comes to women. You've called women you don't like fat pigs, dogs, slobs, and disgusting animals. Your Twitter account...
Only Rosie O'Donnell.
No, it wasn't.
Oh, my God.
Your Twitter account...
My gosh.
For the
This
record,
can't be real.
it was well beyond Rosie O'Donnell.
Yes, I'm sure it was.
Your Twitter account has several disparaging comments about women's looks. You once told a contestant on Celebrity Apprentice it would be a pretty picture to see her on her knees. Does that sound to you like the temperament of a man we should elect as president? And how will you answer the charge from Hillary Clinton, who is likely to be the Democratic nominee, that you are part of the war on women?
I think the big problem this country has is being politically correct. I've been challenged by so many people, and I don't frankly have time for total political correctness. And to be honest with you,
I forgot
this
this is
country
2015.
doesn't
This
have
is the
time
political
either.
correctness
This
stuff.
country is in big trouble.
Is this when the
we don't win
SJWs were
anymore.
around?
We lose
Right?
to China. We
2015?
lose to Mexico, both in trade and at the border. We lose to everybody. And frankly, what I say, and oftentimes it's fun, it's kidding, we have a good time. What I say is what I say. And honestly, Megan, if you don't like it, I'm sorry. I've been very nice to you, although I could probably maybe not be based on the way you have treated me, but I wouldn't do that. But you know what?
What a savage! Holy!
We need strength, we need energy, we need quickness, and we need brain in this country to turn it around. That I can tell you right now.
This is why Trump in 2016 was peak. This was just amazing. When Trump is Trump, it's perfect. Everything, down to the last minute detail. It's just... Man, we need this Trump in 2024. If this is a Trump in 2024, he wins every state. You know, I'm kidding, right? But... that was a classic. That was like the first real sign that this isn't bullshit.
Senator Cruz, your colleague, Senator Paul, right there next to you, said a few months ago he agrees with you on a number of issues, but he says you do nothing to grow the party. He says you feed red meat to the base, but you don't reach out to minorities. You have a toxic relationship with GOP leaders in Congress. You even called the Republican Senate leader, Mitch McConnell, a liar recently.
Base? Man, did Rand Paul actually say that? That he doesn't appeal to enough people. He's not electable. Did he say that? I just love how Ted Cruz was bashing McConnell back then. He was ahead of the curve. He was.
How can you win in 2016 when you're such a divisive figure?
Chris, I believe the American people are looking for someone to speak the truth. If you're looking for someone to go to Washington, to go along, to get along, to agree with the
He worked for the Bush campaign? I actually did not know that. Domestic policy advisor. Oh, that explains a lot. Yeah, I actually did not know he was part of the Bush campaign. Huh.
Politicians in both parties who get in bed with the lobbyists and special interests, then I ain't your guy. There is a reason that we have $18 trillion in debt. Because as conservatives, as Republicans, we keep winning elections. We got a Republican House, we got a Republican Senate, and we don't have leaders who honor their commitments. I will always tell the truth and do what I said I would do.
Yeah, like somebody said in the comments, the Cruz without a beard is like lame. He is so lame. We need the beard. Can somebody Photoshop this beard in already? They put born in Canada. Oh yeah, I forgot. They made a big deal about that, but he ran. He was allowed to run. Nothing the Constitution prevented him from not running. He was legally allowed to, so.
Governor Christie, you're not exactly the darling of conservatives. You tout your record as a Republican governor in a blue state. On Facebook, the most people talking about you, not surprisingly, come from your state of New Jersey, and one of the top issues they are talking about is the economy. This may be why. Under your watch, New Jersey has undergone 9 credit rating downgrades.
Jeez.
The state's 44th in private sector growth. You face an employee pension crisis, and the Garden State has the 3rd highest foreclosure rate in the country.
He should have ran in 2012. That's what I will say. I mean, Cruz would have probably, or Christie, he probably could have been Obama. He should have ran in 2012. That was his best chance. He was very popular, and frankly, I don't know why he didn't run. Does anybody know why he didn't run? He had it. He had it in the bag to be the Republican nominee and a good chance at it. Whatever. Let's see. Romney was born in Mexico. Yeah, I know that. But wait, he was born. But wasn't his father an American citizen? I don't think it really matters. Cruz was allowed because his parents were American. Yeah, he was. If his parents are American, it doesn't really matter where.
So why should voters believe that your management of the country's finances would be any different?
If you think it's bad now, you should have seen it when I got there. Fact is,
bruh, that's lame.
Fact is, in the 8 years before I became governor, taxes and fees were raised at the state level 115 times. In the 8 years before I became governor, spending was increased 56%. And in the 8 years before I became governor, there was 0 net private sector job growth in New Jersey. 0 for 8 years.
Okay, somebody sent me a super chat. VW Bear for 5. That's why Cruz almost lost to Beto. He didn't have the beard. So true. So true. Yeah, I wonder, how much does the beard actually, like, help Cruz? If he wins by, like, 15 again, it proves the beard is undefeated. Christie didn't want to run because he was scared he couldn't win over white working-class voters in Appalachia. Yeah, but I think he could have won. That's a thing. He was spending a lot less on hamburgers than he is now.
So what did we do? We came in, we balanced an $11 billion deficit on a $29 billion budget by cutting over 800 programs in the state budget. We brought the budget into balance with no tax increases. In fact, we vetoed 5 income tax increases during my time as governor. We cut business taxes $2.3 billion, and we cut regulation by 1/3 of what my predecessor put in place. And what's happened since? 192,000 new private sector jobs in the 5.5 years I've been governor. We have a lot of work to do in New Jersey, but I am darn proud of how we've brought our state back.
Yeah, that doesn't sound that impressive. They say like New Jersey. Am I wrong?
Governor Walker.
Okay. Yeah, we got
You've
Wisconsin.
consistently said that you want to make abortion illegal, even in cases of rape, incest, or to save the life of the mother. You recently signed an abortion law in Wisconsin that does have an exception for the mother's life, but you are on record as having objected to it.
That's good.
Would you really let a mother die rather than have an abortion? And with 83% of the American public in favor of a life exception, are you two out of the mainstream on this issue to win the general election?
Man, are we talking, is this 2023? Did they just, like, predict the future on this? I don't know. I mean, this sounds like a question right from 2023. But, you know, Scott Walker was good, and if it, he had a terrible campaign. That was atrocious.
Well, I'm pro-life. I've always been pro-life. And I've got a position I think is consistent with many Americans out there in that I believe that is an unborn child that's in need of protection out there. And I've said many a time that unborn child can be protected, and there are many other alternatives that will also protect the life of that mother. That's been consistently proven.
Yeah, I forgot that he's the only governor ever to survive a recall. Yeah. After Gavin Newsom, right? Gavin Newsom was the second ever. But Scott Walker, he survived the recall. I cannot believe only like 2 governors ever survived that. Yeah, Scott Walker was one of the best governors of all time. I wouldn't say of all time, but he definitely got Wisconsin on a good track. Hopefully the GOP does something, though, because I'm getting kind of nervous. I'm not going to lie.
Life of that mother. That's been consistently proven. Unlike Hillary Clinton, who has a radical position in terms of support for Planned Parenthood.
Yeah, he was.
I defined
I don't know
Planned
how he
Parenthood
did that.
More than 4 years ago, long before any of these videos came out. I've got a position that's in line with everyday America.
Preacher. Explains a lot.
Governor Huckabee, like Governor Walker, you have staked out strong positions on social issues. You favor a constitutional amendment banning same-sex marriages.
Who is this?
You favor a constitutional amendment banning abortions, except for the life of the mother. Millions of
John Kinney for 2. Do you think RFK Jr. has a shot against Biden? I don't think so, but he could pull Pat Buchanan or Ted Kennedy. Just siphon off enough support and then cause chaos of the DNC. Because RFK is red pilling a lot of Democrats. Let's be real here. But he's not going to win. There's no chance at it. But I think he will cause damage to Biden's campaign. Well, there was only 4 gubernatorial recalls ever. I thought there was more than that. I could have sworn there's way more than that. Let's see. Walker should have gotten in 3rd term of 2018. Well, he really shot himself in the foot. He overstayed his welcome, and I think the presidential campaign hurt him. If he'd have run for president, I think he would have won. We could vote for RFK in the Democrat primary and open primary states. That may be the play. I don't know. Since it's Wisconsin, I'll wait and see, but we just got to see.
people in this country agree with you, but according to the polls, and again, this is an electability question, according to the polls, more people don't. So how do you persuade enough independents and Democrats to get elected in 2016?
Chris, I disagree with the idea that the real issue is a constitutional amendment. That's a long and difficult process. I've actually taken a position that's bolder than that. A lot of people are talking about defunding Planned Parenthood as if that's a huge game changer. I think it's time to do something even more bold. I think the next president ought to invoke the 5th and 14th Amendments to the Constitution.
Yes.
Now that we clearly know that that baby inside the mother's womb is a person at the moment of conception. The reason we know that it is because of the DNA schedule that we now have clear scientific evidence on.
Yes.
And this notion that we just continue to
finally
ignore
somebody
the
says
personhood of the individual is a violation of that unborn child's 5th and 14th Amendment rights for due process and equal protection under the law. It's time that we recognize the Supreme Court is not the supreme being, and we change the policy to be pro-life and protect children instead of rip up their body parts and sell them like they're parts to a Buick.
Yeah, that is a really good strong. Where was this in 2022? Come on. I mean, Huckabee, he was amazing. He was freaking amazing. And it sucks we don't got any, like, who do we got left, like, the old Southern conservative that's actually conservative on social issues? I mean, really, is there any Mike Huckabees really left? That's, like, as base as he was on social issues? I can't really think of any. Maybe Pence, but he sucks at everything else, so. Maxwell JW for 5. I know it's a broad question, but is there anything you're hopeful about in politics ahead of 2024, or just generally in the future, any white pills? The big thing I'm really hoping for is Republicans get their act together, and they finally start winning on the issue of abortion. That's going to be my big thing. If we start winning on the issue of abortion, we got this. Sarah Huckabee, is she as good as her father on social issues? I gotta see. His daughter's no, she's a good governor, but I don't think she's as conservative as her father. I gotta see. I think Micah Huckabee's better. I just gotta see what her stances are on, like, social issues.
Senator Paul, you recently blamed the rise of ISIS on Republican hawks. Now, you later said that statement, you could have said it better. He's not wrong. But the statement went on, and you said, quote, everything they've talked about in foreign policy, they've been wrong for the last 20 years.
I mean, he's cooking.
Why are you so quick to blame your own party?
Because it's true.
First of all, only ISIS is responsible for the terrorism. Only ISIS is responsible for the depravity. But we do have to examine, how are we going to defeat ISIS? I've got a proposal. I'm the leading voice in America for not arming the allies of ISIS.
Very good.
I've been fighting amidst a lot of opposition from both Hillary Clinton as well as some Republicans who wanted to send arms to the allies of ISIS. ISIS rides around in $1 billion worth of U.S. Humvees. It's a disgrace. We ought to stop it. We shouldn't fund our enemies, for goodness sakes. So we didn't create ISIS. ISIS created themselves, but we will stop them. And one of the ways we stop them is by not funding them and by not arming them.
I mean, that was a good point.
Governor Kasich.
He's cooking. Oh, God.
You chose to expand Medicaid in your state, unlike several other governors.
All right, that's good. That's the one thing I don't get about some of these, like, Kasich types. They're like, they support expanded Medicaid, but suddenly they're running on socialism. All the other crap. You know, I don't get some of these moderate Republicans at all, but they're good on, like, 2 issues, and they just suck in everything else. As an expanding jobs, 12-year-olds can do other jobs that are completely safe. Yeah, the whole thing with Arkansas, the whole child labor stuff, it's for jobs that are safe for them, not like putting kids back in the coal mines when they're 12 years old. Nothing like that. It's just, if it's a safe job, why can't the kid have a job? Rand's dad was more base, yeah. Ron Paul is much better. And Rand Paul was good too. I'm not saying Rand Paul is bad. I just think Ron Paul is better.
On the stage tonight, and it is already over budget by some estimates, costing taxpayers an additional $1.4 billion in just the first 18 months. You've defended your Medicaid expansion by invoking God, saying
like
to skeptics that when they arrive in heaven,
me.
St. Peter isn't going to ask them how small they've kept government, but what they have done for the poor. Why should Republican voters, who generally want to shrink government, believe that you won't use your St. Peter rationale to expand every government program?
Well, first of all, Megan, you should know that President Reagan expanded Medicaid 3 or 4 times. Secondly, I had an opportunity to bring resources back to Ohio to do what? To treat the mentally ill. 10,000 of them sit in our prisons. It costs $22,500 a year to keep them in prison. I'd rather get them their medication so they could lead a decent life. Secondly, we are rehabbing the drug addicted. 80% of the people in our prisons have addiction problems. We now treat them in the prisons, release them in the community, and the recidivism rate is 10%. And everybody across this country knows that the tsunami of drugs is threatening their very families. So we're treating them and getting them on their feet. And finally, the working poor, instead of them having to come into the emergency rooms where it costs more, where they're sicker, and we end up paying, we brought a program in here to make sure that people could get on their feet. And you know what? Everybody has a right to their God-given purpose. And finally, our Medicaid is growing at one of the lowest rates in the country. And finally, we went from $8 billion in the hole to $2 billion in the black. We've cut $5 billion in taxes, and we've grown 350,000 jobs.
Bro, that's kind of just lame. That was kind of just, ew. I mean, the Medicaid is good, but come on.
To a new subject that all of you have been talking about, and some of you have been disagreeing about, and that is the issue of immigration.
Oh, man.
Governor Bush, you released a new plan this week on illegal immigration, focusing on enforcement, which some suggest is your effort to show that you're not soft on that issue. I want to ask you about a statement that you made last year about illegal immigrants, and here's what you said. They broke the law, but it's not a felony. It's an act of love. It's an act of commitment to your family.
Jeb!
Do you stand by that statement, and
what
do you
doing?
Stand by your support for earned legal status?
I do. I believe that the great majority of people coming here
you
illegally have no other option. They want to provide for their family. But we need to control our border. It's our responsibility to pick and choose who comes in. So I've written a book about this, and yes, this week I did come up with a comprehensive strategy that really mirrored what we said in the book, which is that we need to deal with E-Verify. We need to deal with people that come with a legal visa and overstay. We need to be much more strategic on how we deal with border enforcement, border security. We need to eliminate the sanctuary cities in this country.
No one is clapping.
It is ridiculous and tragic.
Oh, now as I say that they
people
start
are
clapping.
dying because of the fact that local governments are not following the federal law. There's much to do. And I think rather than talking about this as a wedge issue, which Barack Obama's done now for 6 long years, the next president, and I hope to be that president, will fix this once and for all so that we can turn this into a driver for high sustained economic growth. And there should be a path to earn legal status for those that are here. Not amnesty.
This is why
Bush
is probably never going to be president again.
And do many things.
I mean, Jeb was good as a governor, but he sucks at everything else. I mean, we need to
Mr. Trump,
oh gosh,
it has not escaped anybody's noticed that you say that the Mexican government, is sending criminals, rapists, drug dealers across the border. Governor Bush has called those remarks, quote, extraordinarily ugly.
He's not wrong. Trump's not wrong.
Like you're right next to him. Talk to him directly and say how you respond to that. And you have repeatedly said that you have evidence that the Mexican government is doing this, but that you have refused or declined to share.
That's what they always do.
Why not use this first Republican presidential debate to share your proof with the American
Let Trump
people?
answer, you clown.
So, if it weren't for me, you wouldn't even be talking about illegal immigration, Chris. You wouldn't even be talking about it. This was not a subject that was on anybody's mind until I brought it up at my announcement, and I said, Mexico is sending. Except the reporters, because they're a very dishonest lot, generally speaking, in the world of politics, they didn't cover my statement the way I said it. The fact is, since then, many killings, murders, crime, drugs pouring across the border, our money going out and the drugs coming in. And I said, we need to build a wall.
Yeah!
It needs to be built quickly.
Build a wall.
And I don't mind having a big, beautiful door in that wall so that people can come into this country legally. But we need, Jeb, to build a wall. We need to keep illegals out.
Let Jeb build a wall.
I'll give you 30 seconds. I'll give you 30 seconds to answer my question, which was, what evidence do you have, specific evidence?
Well, shut up. Nobody likes you. Your CNN Plus failed.
The border. 30 seconds.
Border Patrol, I was at the border last week. Border Patrol, people that I deal with, that I talk to, they say this is what's happening because our leaders are stupid. Our politicians are stupid. And the Mexican government is much smarter, much sharper, much more cunning, and they send the bad ones over because they don't want to pay for them. They don't want to take care of them. Why should they?
This is
when
amazing.
The stupid leaders of the United States will do it for them. And that's what's happening, whether you
let
like it or
him
not.
cook. That was amazing.
Obviously, there's a lot more to talk about this. We're going to have more questions for the candidates.
We're going to skip this part. They're going to ad break. Let's go. Oh, Trump goes after Case. I forgot about this, right?
We're being bamboozled. Is that an adequate response to the question of illegal immigration?
Chris, first of all, I was just saying to Christie, they say we're outspoken. We need to take lessons from Donald Trump if we're really going to learn it. Hey, here's the thing about Donald Trump. Donald Trump's hitting a nerve in this country. He is. He's hitting a nerve. People are frustrated. They're fed up. They don't think the government is working for them.
They don't.
And for people that want to just tune him out, they're making a mistake. Now, he's got his solutions. Some of us have other solutions. You know, look, I balanced the federal budget as one of the chief architects when I was in Washington. Hadn't been done since. I was a military.
You did nothing. You just stood in the committee and everyone else did the work.
Reformer. I took the state of Ohio from an $8 billion hole and a 350,000 job loss to a $2 billion surplus and a gain of 350,000 jobs.
Respectfully, can we talk about illegal immigration?
But the point is that we all have solutions. Mr. Trump is touching a nerve because people want the wall to be built. They want to see an end to illegal immigration. They want to see it, and we all do. But we all have different ways of getting there, and you're going to hear from all of us tonight about what our ideas are.
All right. Well, Senator Rubio, let me see if I can do better with you.
Go away.
Is it as simple as our leaders are stupid, their leaders are smart, and all of these illegals coming over are criminals?
Trump's not wrong.
Let me set the record straight on a couple of things. The first is the evidence is now clear that the majority of people coming across the border are not from Mexico. They're coming from Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras.
They're doing the same
Those
thing.
countries are the source of the people
They're
that are
doing
not
the
coming
same
in. It's majority.
thing.
I also believe we need a fence. The problem is if El Chapo builds a
say a wall, not a fence. Oh my gosh, there's a fence. It's gonna be like plywood that's like so thin you barely touch it. Trump's way is the only one that works, Kasich. Yeah, I mean, come on. These clowns think their plan's gonna work. Just build a wall. Kasich harkened back to Gingrich as a way to win 2016 primary. Yeah, that's not fun.
Tunnel under the fence, we have to be able to deal with that too. And that's why you need an E-Verify system and you need an entry-exit track.
Wait, hold on. Rubio supported E-Verify? Whoa. He actually supported E-Verify. Okay, he's cooking.
And all sorts of other things to prevent illegal immigration. But I agree with what Governor Kasich just said. People are frustrated. This is the most generous country in the world when it comes to immigration.
E-Verify.
There are a million people a year who legally immigrate to the United States.
Awesome.
And people feel like we're being taken advantage of. We feel like
we
despite
always
our generosity,
are.
we are being taken advantage of.
We
and let me tell you who never gets talked about in these debates. The people that call my office, who have been waiting for 15 years to come to the United States, and they paid their fees, and they hired a lawyer, and they can't get in, and they're wondering maybe they should come illegally. And so these are important issues, and we should
address it. You're part of the
gain
of aid. Nobody wants to hear this.
And otherwise, we're going to keep talking about this for the next 30 years like we have for the last 30 years.
Governor Walker.
Man, Rubio's gotten significantly better. My goodness. That is what Rubio was back then? I remember he was cringe, but dear Lord.
Governor Walker, from 2002 till as recently as 2013, just 2 years ago, you supported comprehensive immigration reform, including a path to citizenship. Now you say that was a quick reaction to something you hadn't really thought about, and that you've changed your mind. Other than politics, could you explain why in the last 2 years you've changed your position on a path to citizenship, and are there other past positions that we shouldn't hold you to?
Yeah, well, Chris, I actually said it on your show earlier this year. I flat out said, I acknowledge that. I said I actually listened to the American people, and I think people across America want a leader who's actually going to listen to them. I talked to border state governors and other elected officials. I looked at how this president, particularly
this
through
is why
last
he
November,
didn't win the presidential election
the immigration system in this country. Most importantly, I listened to the people of America. I believe we need to secure the border. I've been to the border with Governor Abbott in Texas and others, seeing the problems that they have there. There's international criminal organizations penetrating our southern-based borders, and we need to do something about it.
Yeah, that's Rubio in a
Secure the
nutshell.
border,
Went from
enforce the
cringe
law,
to
no amnesty, and go forward with a legal immigration system that gives priority to American working families and wages.
Good answer.
Senator Cruz, some 1,400 people submitted questions on this very hot topic of illegal immigration on Facebook, and a number of them were about the murder of Kate Steinle in San Francisco, allegedly
that was
shot
a big
down by an illegal. Doug Betancourt sent this question: will you support Kate Steinle's law, which would impose a mandatory 5-year prison term for an illegal who's deported and then returns to this country? And will you defund sanctuary cities for violating
that should
federal
be
law?
Easy.
Chris, absolutely yes. And not only will I support it, I have authored Kate's law in the United States Senate and filed that legislation. I tried to get the Senate to vote to pass Kate's law on the floor of the Senate just 1 week ago, and the leader of our own party blocked a vote on Kate's law.
Mitch McConnell, what a loser.
There was reference made to our leaders being stupid. It's not a question of stupidity. It's that they don't want to enforce the immigration laws.
So we're going to just skip ahead a little bit.
There are far too many in the Washington cartel that support amnesty. President Obama's talked about fundamentally transforming this country. There's 7 billion people across the face of the globe, many of whom want to come to this country. If they come legally, great, but if they come
we're going to skip ahead a little bit.
You have said that Senator Paul's opposition to the NSA's collection of phone records has made the United States weaker and more vulnerable, even going so far as to say that he should be called before Congress to answer for it if we should be hit by another terrorist attack. Do you really believe you can assign blame to Senator Paul just for opposing the bulk collection of people's phone records in the event of a terrorist attack?
Yes, I do. And I'll tell you why. Because I'm the only person on this stage who's actually filed applications under the Patriot Act, who have gone before the federal, the Foreign Intelligence Service
We're still
Court,
defending it
who
back
has
here?
prosecuted and investigated and jailed terrorists in this country after September 11th. I was appointed U.S. Attorney by President Bush on September 10th, 2001, and the world changed enormously the next day. And it happened in my state. This is not theoretical to me. I went to the funerals. We lost friends of ours in the Trade Center that day. My own wife was 2 blocks from the Trade Center that day at her office, having gone through it that morning. When you actually have to be responsible for doing this. You can do it, and we did it for 7 years in my office, respecting civil liberties and protecting the homeland. And I will make no apologies ever for protecting the lives and the safety of the American people.
He's making a big deal about the Patriot Act.
We have
was
to
awful.
give more
It
tools
spied on
to
Americans.
our folks to be able to do that, not fewer, and then trust those people and oversee them to do it the right way as president.
Well,
That
they
is
were
exactly
spying
what
on
I'll do.
people.
Megan, may I respond?
Come on, man.
Go ahead,
This
sir.
is when Paul absolutely destroyed him.
I want to collect more records from terrorists, but less records from innocent Americans. The Fourth Amendment was what we fought the revolution over. John Adams said it was the spark that led to our war for independence. And I'm proud of standing for the Bill of Rights, and I will continue to stand for the Bill of Rights.
And Megan?
Patriot Act, yeah,
Megan,
Patriot Act
that's
was awful.
That,
People
you know,
are still
that's
defending.
a
I
completely
don't get
ridiculous
it.
answer. I want to collect more records from terrorists, but less records from other people. How are you supposed to know, Megan?
Use the Fourth
What are you supposed to?
Amendment.
How are you
It's called
supposed
the- yeah,
to?
Fourth Amendment,
How
you
do
dork.
Get a warrant.
Let me tell you something.
Get
You
a
go
judge to sign
when
a warrant.
Senator.
Go ahead, wait, Governor Christie, make your point.
Listen,
It's the
Senator,
Fourth
you know, when
Amendment.
you're sitting in a subcommittee just blowing hot air about this, you can say things like that. When you're responsible for protecting the lives of the
Okay,
American people,
I'll give him that.
then what you need to do is to make sure that you use the system the way it's supposed to work.
Here's the problem, Governor. You fundamentally misunderstand the Bill of Rights. Every time you did a case, you got a warrant from a judge. I'm talking about searches without warrants, indiscriminately of all Americans' records. And that's what I fought to
the
end.
Patriot
I
Act
don't
pretty
trust
much allowed
President
that.
Obama with our records. I
It
know you
violated
gave
the
him a
Fourth
big
Amendment.
hug, and if you want to
What
give
is
him
this
a big hug
bozo
again,
Christie
go right
talking
ahead.
about?
And
Go ahead, Governor.
And you know, Senator Paul, you know, the hugs that I remember are the hugs that I gave to the families who lost their people on September 11th. Those are the
But
hugs
the
I
Patriot
remember.
Act doesn't
and those
prevent
had
it.
nothing to do, and those had
The
nothing to do
Patriot
with
Act
politics,
spied on
unlike
Americans.
what you're doing by cutting speeches on the floor of the Senate, then putting them on the internet.
I
within
hate,
half
you know,
an
this is
hour
why I get
to raise
frustrated.
money
People, clowns like Christie use like national tragedies such as 9/11 for some bullshit like some bullshit like the Patriot Act. I mean, the Patriot Act was one of the worst bills created the last like 25 years. I mean, we're gonna spy on Americans, but totally we are not violating the constitutional rights. Get out of here.
For your campaign,
right.
and while still putting our country at risk.
All right, we're going to cut it off there. We have plenty more we
I
want to
cannot,
get to.
I
That was
cannot,
an interesting-
I cannot believe the Patriot Act never got struck down. That's what I'm never. Did it get? I don't know. Why did it ever get like thrown out? The Patriot Act would not prevent 9/11. Yeah, it was just they just wanted to spy on Americans. That's what it was.
Thank you for that. Well, I want to move on because I have. We're going to get to you, Governor, but I really want to get to a Facebook questioner. His name is Alex Shal.
We're going to skip the Facebook.
They are rejected by the populations in which they hide. And then you accused him of pushing Medicaid for the Iraqis. How would you destroy ISIS in 90 days?
Megan, we need a commander-in-chief that speaks the truth. We will not defeat radical Islamic terrorism so long as we have a president unwilling to utter the words radical Islamic terrorism.
Didn't Cruz later on the primary like say that was a racist term? He like attacked Trump for saying that?
When I asked General Dempsey, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, what would be required militarily to destroy ISIS, he said there is no military solution. We need to change the conditions on the ground so that young men are not in poverty and susceptible to radicalization. That, with all due respect, is nonsense. It's the same answer the State Department gave, that we need to give them jobs. What we need is a commander-in-chief who makes clear, if you join ISIS, if you wage jihad on America, then you are signing your death warrant.
You don't see it as an ideological problem? An ideological problem in addition to a military...
I mean, like, I'm against unnecessary intervention, but when there's American lives at threat, that's a different story. These people that say, well, you're against fighting terrorism. No, I'm fine with that. My issue is when we have these unnecessary wars like we got in Iraq, which I think Trump will bring up later. I mean, that's always been my problem, when you get these unnecessary conflicts. Polite rude guy for 2, the Restrict Act is the same as the Patriot Act. Yeah, I know. I did a video on that. I mean, it's literally the same thing, except, like, somehow more egregious.
Military one.
Megan, of course it's an ideological problem. That's one of the reasons why I introduced the Expatriate Terrorist Act in the Senate that said if any American travels to the Middle East and joins ISIS, that he or she forfeits their citizenship so they don't use a passport to come back and wage jihad on Americans. Yes, it is ideological, and let me contrast President Obama, who at the prayer breakfast
That's pretty good.
essentially acted as an apologist. He said, well, gosh, the Crusades, the Inquisitions. We need a president that shows the courage that Egypt's President al-Sisi did, a Muslim, when he called out the radical Islamic terrorists who are threatening
That
the
last
world.
part's cringe. That's
Governor
pretty
Bush.
good.
For days on end in this campaign, you struggled to answer a question about whether, knowing what we know now, we would have invaded Iraq.
Megan.
Iraq!
I remember it too. And ISIS, of course, is now thriving there. You finally said no. To the families of those who died in that war, who say they liberated a country and deposed a ruthless dictator.
You made things
how do
worse,
you
you
look at them now and say
idiots.
your brother's war was a mistake?
Knowing what we know now, with faulty intelligence and not having security be the first priority when...
Faulty intelligence? They lied! That wasn't just a mistake. They openly lied and knew about it. They never had proof. It's one thing to say they had real evidence. They never had evidence. They bullshitted everybody. So the Iraq war was nonsensical. And it just... Jeb, what are you doing?
When we invaded, it was a mistake. I wouldn't have gone in. However, for the people that did lose their lives and the families that suffered because of it, I know this full well, because as governor of the state of Florida, I called every one of them that I could find, to tell them that I was praying for them, that I cared about them, and it was really hard to do. And every one of them said that their child did not die in vain, or their wife or husband did not die in vain. And so why it was difficult for me to do it was based...
Let's see here. Polite, rude guy for 2. DeSantis 24 is Jeb 16. Nah. DeSantis is way better than Jeb. You know, I just think that people that say DeSantis is Jeb, I disagree with. Cruz is pretty good early on. Yeah, he I don't know. That's why I never trusted Cruz.
On that.
He was good early on, then he just, like, fell apart.
Here's the lesson that we should take from this, which relates to this whole subject. Barack Obama became president, and he abandoned Iraq. He left, and when he left, Al-Qaeda was done for. ISIS was created because of the void that we left. And that void now exists as a...
It was created because you clowns went in there. What do you think was going to happen? I mean, no matter who the president was, it was going to cause chaos.
Caliphate the size of Indiana. To honor the people that died, we need to stop the Iran agreement for sure, because the Iranian mullahs have their blood on their hands, and we need to take out ISIS with every tool at our disposal.
Governor Walker.
Bruh.
In February, you said that we needed to gain partners in the Arab world. Which Arab country not already in the U.S.-led coalition has the potential to be our greatest partner?
What about additional ones? We need to focus on the ones we have. You look at Egypt, probably the best relationship we've had in Israel, at least in my lifetime, incredibly important. You look at the Saudis. In fact, earlier this year, I met with Saudi leaders and leaders from the United Arab Emirates, and I asked them what's the greatest challenge in the world today. Set aside the Iran
He
deal.
knows nothing about
It's the disengagement of America. We are leading from behind under the Obama-Clinton doctrine. America's a great country. We need to stand up and start leading again. And we'd have
This was
allies
one of the
not just in
biggest
Israel,
problems with Walker. He never understood foreign policy. Everything he said, like, always says, you can clearly tell he's just a novice at it. And I'm not saying I'm an expert. I'm just saying, like, compared to everybody else, it just didn't seem like he knew what he really was getting himself into. But
throughout the Persian Gulf.
Dr. Carson. In one of his
No
first actions
claps.
as Commander-in-Chief, President
See my
Obama signed
point?
an executive order banning enhanced interrogation techniques in fighting terror.
Let's see here. Polite guy, rude guy for 5. The GOP establishment learned from their mistakes. They've realized they needed a better politician. DeSantis thinks Putin is a war criminal. DeSantis, emoji downward signal. I don't, I'm just staying out of it. You can say what you want. I'm not really paying attention to what they say, but we just got to see. I have my opinions on it. You could say what you want. I'm just saying out of it, I think it's unnecessary bickering. That's my honest opinion, but whatever.
As president, would you bring back waterboarding?
Well, thank you, Megan. I wasn't sure I was going to get to talk again.
We have a lot for you. Don't worry.
Yeah, because you're asleep, dude. I mean, the dude's basically sleeping up there. What did you expect?
What we do in order to get the information that we need is our business. And I wouldn't necessarily be broadcasting to everybody what we're going to do. We've gotten into this mindset of fighting politically correct wars. There is no such thing as a politically correct war. And
based?
The left, of course, will say Carson doesn't believe in the Geneva Convention. Carson doesn't believe in fighting stupid wars. And what we have to remember is we want to utilize the tremendous intellect that we have in the military to win wars. And
I think he misspoke.
A lot of the generals, a lot of our advanced people,
meant.
And believe me, if we gave them the mission, which is what the commander-in-chief does, they would be able to carry it out. And if we don't tie their hands behind their
I gotta
back,
skip this. I'm sorry, Carson. This is just... It's brutal.
You call a disaster.
Complete disaster.
Yes. Is one of the things
this is Iraq.
A disaster.
Iraq.
Complete disaster, yes.
Saying it needs to be repealed and replaced.
Correct.
Now, 15 years ago, you called yourself a liberal on
Obamacare.
You were for a single-payer system, a Canadian-style system. Why were you for that then, and why aren't you for it now?
First of all, I'd like to just go back to in July of 2004, I came out strongly against the war with Iraq because it was going to destabilize the Middle East, and I'm the only one on the stage that knew that and had the vision to say it, and that's exactly what happened. The Middle East became totally destabilized. So I just want to say, as far as single payer, it works in Canada. It works incredibly well in Scotland. It could have worked in a different age, which is the age you're talking about here. What I'd like to see is a private system without the artificial lines around every state. I have a big company with thousands and thousands of employees, and if I'm negotiating in New York or in New Jersey or in California, I have like one bidder. Nobody can bid. You know why? Because the insurance companies are making a fortune.
Man, this is the Trump that, I think single payer is a disaster, but he was at least, trying something different. We never got to see his plan, but he was somebody that was trying to innovate with healthcare. But polite, rude guy for 5. Any American that believes we should move on from 2020 is failing our founding fathers. We literally sacrificed our lives for freedom. Yeah, but at this point, there's nothing else that can be done. It's over. We lost, and you can say what you want about it. It's done and over with. It's a couple years ago. We can't keep looking back and say, see, this is what happened, this is what happened, this is what happened. It's time to look forward. We got to make sure that doesn't happen. Single payer could work? Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, every case example hasn't worked. I think, personally, Germany's healthcare systems should be similar to ours, or we should be similar to Germany's healthcare system. But, it's such a complicated task, or I should say a issue, that there's no one real solution to it.
Because they have control of the politicians, of course, with the exception of the politicians on the stage. But they have total control of the politicians. They're making a fortune. Get rid of the
Pharma's a big problem, and you will have Trump was saying that back then.
And then we have
now
to
we know they're way worse than we thought.
And I will do that through a different system.
Hey, Mr. Trump, hold on one second.
Oh, boy.
I know. Hold on, Senator Paul.
Newsflash, the Republican Party's been fighting against a single-payer system for a decade. So I think you're on the wrong side of this if you're still arguing for a single-payer system.
I don't think you heard me. You're having a hard time tonight.
Mr. Trump, it's not just your past support for health care.
Bring this Trump back.
A host of other liberal.
Bring him back. Let him cook. That is amazing. Polite, rude guy for 5. We will get Trump in there, then arrest them all for... Stop it. Stop it. You're not... No. It's just... it's over from 2020, and it's not going to change. Single payer is a disaster. That's why Canadians come here for big operations. Yeah, that's a problem with it. It could work, but I just think that all the systems they've tried so far is just a failure. But, bro, Carrie Lake, you're a joke. I'm not even talking about that. Let's see. Off-topic wrap, but what's your thoughts on Kelly Ayotte running for governor? Sununu doesn't run. She said she will run if he does run for re-election. That's probably going to be our best bet, if I'm being honest.
Policies. You've also donated to several Democratic candidates, Hillary Clinton included, Nancy Pelosi. You explained away those donations, saying you did that to get business-related favors. And you said recently, quote, when you give, they do whatever the hell you want them to do.
You better believe it.
So what specifically did they do?
If I ask them, if I need them, you know, most of the people on this stage I've given to, just so you understand.
Man!
A lot of money.
Not me.
Not me. But you're welcome to give me a check, Donald, if you'd like.
Many of them.
Actually, to be clear,
That's
he
right.
supported Charlie Crist.
Not much.
Charlie,
but I have.
Donald, if you
Amazing.
I hope you will give to me.
Good.
Okay.
Sounds good. Sounds good to me, Governor.
This is perfect.
I will tell you that our system is broken. I give to many people. Before 2 months ago, I was a businessman. I give to everybody. When they call, I give. And you know what? When I need something from them 2 years later, 3 years later, I call them. They are there for me.
So what'd you
that's
get?
a broken system.
So what'd you get from Hillary Clinton and Nancy Pelosi?
Well, I'll tell you what. With Hillary.
Let's see here. Polite rude guy for 2. Should AI be programmed to fear God? Yes or no? What? Should it be? Nobody should fear God. You know, so I say no. I mean, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you mean specifically, but
Hillary Clinton, I said, be at my wedding, and she came to my wedding. You know why? She had no choice because I gave. I gave to a foundation that, frankly, that foundation is supposed to do good. I didn't know her money would be used on private jets going all over the world. It was. But
amazing.
Hold on, we're gonna move on. We'll come back to
Trump.
you.
Just 1 second on this, though. We spend a lot of time talking about Hillary Clinton and pitting us back and forth. Let's be clear. We should be talking about Hillary Clinton on that last subject because everywhere in the world.
Let's see here. Yes, we should fear God. I don't know. I'm just staying out of it. I'm staying out of that talk. I don't know what I don't know. I'm confused by that. Whatever. Bruh, yeah, Trump is just freaking amazing.
That Hillary Clinton touched is more messed up today than before she and the
We have many questions to come. Many questions to come. Governor.
We should fear God. I must have misspoke. I must have misunderstood what you meant. So, did I misspoke? Did I misspeak about that? Whatever. Move on. Move on. Next question. If you do not fear, I don't know. I must have misunderstood what somebody meant and whatever. I think New Hampshire's a lost cause. We should stop waste money. I think for federal races, yeah, it's over.
Governor Huckabee, on Facebook, John Christie asks this. Will you abolish or take away the powers and cut the size of the EPA, the IRS, the Department of Education? Now, broadly, the size of government is a big concern for Facebook users, Facebook persons, as well as, obviously, conservatives. But
polite rude guy for 2. Do you believe Jesus Christ is God? He's the Son of God. He is the Son of God.
Year after year, decade after decade, there are promises from Republicans to shrink government. But year after year, decade after decade, it doesn't happen. In fact, it gets
it never happens. It's
even
a lark.
under Republican politicians. So the question is, at this point,
She's
is
making
the
effective
government
government
simply too big for any one person, even a Republican, to shrink?
It's not too big to shrink. But the problem is we have a Wall Street to Washington axis of power that has controlled the political climate. The donor class feeds the political class who does the dance that the donor class wants. And the result is federal government keeps getting bigger. Every person on this stage who has been a governor will tell you that the biggest fight they had was not the other party, wasn't even the legislature. It was the federal government who continually put mandates on the states that we had to suck up and pay for. And the fact is there are a lot of things happening at the federal level that are absolutely beyond the jurisdiction of the Constitution. This is power that should be shifted back to the states, whether it's the EPA.
Man,
there is
I
no
kind of
role
agree,
at the federal level for the Department of Education. And I'm still one who says that we can get rid of the Internal Revenue Service if we would pass the fair tax, which is a tax on consumption, rather
he still was running on that. That was like that was his big thing in 2008, right? That's the fair tax. That's the one that abolished income tax for sales tax. If the Michigan GOP continues to be idiotic, Michigan will be gone from the GOP. Yeah, I agree.
Tax on people's income and move power back where the founders believed it should have been all along.
Dr. Carson,
I mostly agree.
Dr. Carson, do you agree with that?
What I agree with is that we need a significantly changed taxation system. And the one that I've advocated is based on tithing, because I think God's a pretty fair guy. And he said, you know, if you give me a tithe, it doesn't matter how much you made. If you had a bumper crop, you don't owe me triple tithes, and you'd had no crops at all, you don't owe me no tithes. So there must be something inherently fair about that, and that's why I've advocated a proportional tax system. You make $10 billion, you pay $1 billion. You make $10, you pay $1, and everybody gets treated the same way. And you get rid of the deductions, you get rid of all the loopholes. And
that's cringe. No deductions. Let's see. North Carolina GOP should send Michigan GOP some help. Just send the advisors. Is a fair tax anything like the flat tax? No, it's just it's a sales tax. It's a sales tax. That's what it is.
Governor Bush.
And I have a lot more to say about it.
We're going to come back to you, Dr. Carson. Governor Bush, you are one of the few people on this stage who advocates for Common Core education standards, reading and
Bruh!
A lot of people on this stage
vigorously
oppose federal involvement. It should all be handled locally.
Jeb, what are you doing? You support
Common.
I forgot
that most of the
Bush made,
criticism
of
Common Core is due to a, quote, fringe group of critics. Do you think that's accurate?
No, I don't, and I don't believe the federal government should be involved.
Super chat, $5 from that Politico guy. Opinion on creating a proportional legislator. I don't know. You know, I see the argument for it, but then it kind of ruins the point. Kind of ruins the point of districts. So, all right, I don't think so. In like small scale elections, maybe, but I don't think so. That rude guy for 2. We need to overturn Obergefell versus Hodges. I could see the argument, but for now, it's. I would say until we gain power, then we go full on based mode. Jeb literally takes the most unpopular positions.
In the creation
even with
of
his own
standards,
party,
directly or indirectly, the creation of curriculum or content. That is clearly a state responsibility. I'm for higher standards.
But you support Common Core.
In an intellectually honest way, with abundant school choice, ending social promotion, and I know how to do this because as governor of the state of Florida, I created the first statewide voucher program in the country, the second statewide voucher program in the country, and the third statewide voucher program in the country. And we had rising student achievement across the board because high standards, robust accountability, ending social promotion in 3rd grade, real school choice across the board, challenging the teachers union and beating them is the way to go. And Florida's low-income kids had the greatest gains inside the country. Our graduation rate improved by 50%.
I can see why Bush sunk so quickly.
Is being taught in school, they can go to that local school board or their state legislature or their governor and get it changed. Here's the problem with Common Core. The Department of Education, like every federal agency, will never be satisfied. They will not stop with it being a suggestion. They will turn it into a mandate. In fact, what they will begin to say to local communities is, you will not get federal money unless you do things the way we want you to do it. And they will use Common Core or any other requirements that exist nationally
Common Core
to force it down the throats of our people in our states.
Cringe.
You agree with your old friend?
He's definitely my friend, and I think the states ought to create these standards. And if states want to opt out of Common Core, fine. Just make sure your standards are high.
No Common Core.
Because today in America, a third of our kids, after we spend more per student than any country in the world, other than a couple of rounding errors, to be honest with you, 30% are college and or career ready. If we are
against the first of the many rounds, and it's about somebody whose name probably hasn't been mentioned enough so far tonight.
Good.
Kasich, let me start with you. Whoever the Republican nominee is, it looks, at least for now, like whoever that nominee is, he or she will be facing off against Hillary Clinton. You know how she will come after whoever the Republican nominee is. She will
more
say
electability
that
stuff.
You, whoever it is, support the rich while she supports the middle.
Pro-growth, which is balancing budgets. You know, we were talking about it.
What?
People were saying, could we do it? I was the chairman of the...
I always hate that LARP that pro-growth means balanced budgets.
Budget committee and the lead economic growth. It is
like I want a balanced budget, but for the fact that it's for financial stability reasons, not the GDP may grow 0.1% next year.
Important that we reach out to people who live in the shadows, the people who don't seem to ever think they get a fair deal, and that includes people in our minority community. That includes people who feel
awful.
Clinton is the nominee, and she comes at you with that kind of line of attack. How will you take her on?
If Hillary is the candidate, which I doubt, that would be a dream come true. But, you know, the fact of the matter is she is the epitome of the secular progressive movement. And she counts on the fact that people are uninformed, the Alinsky model, taking advantage of useful idiots. Well, I just happen to believe that people are not.
I'll give them that. That's good.
And the way I will come at it is to educate people.
Done it 27 times since World War II. I think we need to lift our spirits and have high, lofty expectations for this great country of ours. The new normal of 2% that the left is saying.
Come on, let's get to somebody interesting.
So dangerous for our country. There's 6 million people living in poverty today, more than when Barack Obama
would work.
Let's get to someone interesting.
Huckabee. Programs without the kind of painful reforms he says we need.
Let's all be reminded 60 million Americans are on Social Security. 60 million. A third of those people depend on 90% of their income from Social Security. Nobody in this country is on Social Security because they made the decision when they were starting work at 14 that they wanted to trust some of their money with the government. The government took it out of their check whether they wanted them to or not.
Oh, gosh.
If a person goes to 65,
Huckabee,
they're going to spend 51 years
stop cooking
with the government reaching into their pocket at every paycheck. Now, here's the point. Whose fault is it that the system is screwed up? Is it the recipients or is it the government? And if Congress wants to
let them cook.
With the retirement
Stop
program,
Huckabee.
Why don't we let them start by changing their retirement program and not have one, instead of talking about getting rid of Social Security and Medicare that was robbed $700 billion to pay for Obama.
Like, I'm fine with, like, reform the Social Security, and I think that's what Huckabee said, bud. These people that say, we need electability, meanwhile, they support cutting Social Security. But, yeah, I understand what he's trying to say.
It's always that the government figures that they can do this off the backs of people, many of whom are poor and depend on that money. And I just think it's fundamentally lying to the people and stealing from them, and we shouldn't be doing it.
Chris.
30 seconds.
Yeah, sure. I don't disagree with ending Congress's retirement program. I'm a governor. I don't have a retirement program in my state, and I don't disagree with that. But here's the news for the American people. He's complaining about the lying and stealing. The lying and stealing has already occurred. The trust fund is filled with IOUs. Yeah. We can't fix the problem just by entering Congress's retirement. That's worth about this much. We need to go at the fundamental problem. And the fundamental problem is that this system is broken. It has been stolen from.
You're telling me this for the first time.
We need a strong leader to tell the truth and fix it.
All right, this is
okay, let's get to Trump. Let's get to Trump. Okay, Biden Senate's for 5. If Trump / Ron DeSantis wins in 24, they should make Carson either HUD again or Surgeon General. He does very well when out of the spotlight. Yeah, that's his big thing. But when he's speaking, dear Lord. The one at the Reagan Library at September 16th should be the next react. Oh, I remember.
Use the laws of the country to my advantage. But at the same time, financial experts involved in those bankruptcies say that lenders to your companies lost billions of dollars. Question, sir, with that record, why should we trust you to run the nation's business?
Because I have used the laws of this country, just like the greatest people that you read about every day in business have used the laws of this country, the chapter laws, to do a great job for my company, for myself, for my employees, for my family, etc. I have never gone bankrupt, by the way. I have never. But out of hundreds,
he's right.
But sir,
excuse me,
he's right.
Trump's
right.
Out of what am I saying? Out of hundreds of deals that I've done, hundreds, On 4 occasions, I've taken advantage of the laws of this country, like other people. I'm not going to name their names because I'm not going to embarrass, but virtually every person that you read about on the front page of the business sections, they've used the law. The difference is when somebody else uses those laws, nobody writes about it. When I use it, they say, oh, Trump, Trump, Trump. The fact is, I built a net worth of more than $10 billion. I have a great company.
That's bullshit.
I employ
Even I admit that's
people,
complete
and I'm very
baloney.
proud
It's
of
like
the job
probably
I did.
like
Again,
6-7
Chris,
billion.
hundreds and hundreds of deals. 4 times I've taken advantage of the laws, and frankly, so has everybody else in my position.
Well, sir, let's just talk about the latest example, which is Trump Entertainment Resorts, which went bankrupt in 2009. In that case alone, lenders to your company lost over $1 billion and more than 1,100 people were laid off.
Well,
is that the way that
That was during 2009, you idiot. I mean, seriously, do people not understand how bankruptcy works? And the fact that happened during 2009 when the Great Recession was happening?
About the lenders. First of all, these lenders aren't babies. These are total killers. These are not the nice, sweet little people that you think, okay? You know, I mean, you're living in a world of the make-believe, Chris. You want to know the truth. And
yes!
I had the good sense to leave Atlantic City, which, by the way, Caesars just went bankrupt. Every company, Chris can tell you, every company virtually in Atlantic City went bankrupt. Every company. And let me just tell you, I had the good sense, and I've gotten a lot of credit in the financial pages. 7 years ago, I left Atlantic City before it totally cratered, and I made a lot of money in Atlantic City, and I'm very proud of it. I want to tell you that. Very proud of it. Senator, and by the way, this country right now owes $19 trillion, and they need somebody like me to straighten out that mess.
Amazing. That's why we need this Trump in 2015, 2024. He shuts loses up like Wallace immediately.
People sent us questions about the economy and jobs on Facebook, and here is a video question from Tanya Sialko from Philadelphia. Here she is.
Please describe one action you would do to make the economic environment more favorable for small businesses and entrepreneurs and anyone dreaming of opening their own business.
That's a great question.
Senator, how do you answer Tanya?
That's a great question. First of all, it begins by having leaders that recognize that the economy we live in today is dramatically different from the one we had 5 years ago. It's an economy that now has placed us in global competition with dozens of other countries around the world. Now, the big companies that have connections with Washington, they can affect policies to help them. But the small companies like the one Tanya's talking about, they're the ones that are struggling. The first thing we need to do is we need to even out the tax code for small businesses so that we lower their tax rate to 25%, just as we need to lower it for all businesses. We need to have a regulatory budget in America that limits the amount of regulations on our economy. We need to repeal and replace Obamacare. And we need to improve higher education so that people can have access to the skills they need for 21st century jobs. And last but not least, we need to repeal Dodd-Frank. It is eviscerating small businesses and small banks. Over 40% of small and mid-sized banks that loan money to small businesses have been wiped out since Dodd-Frank has passed. We need to repeal and replace
There's some parts in that statement I somewhat disagree with,
businesses, but especially those
not the worst. It wasn't the worst answer.
Senator Rubio, thank you.
Gentlemen, another question for a few of you. Just yesterday, President Obama criticized Republican lawmakers trying to block the Iran deal, calling them knee-jerk partisans, adding that hardliners in Iran who chant death to America were, quote, making common cause with the Republican caucus. Here's what two of your opponents on the 5 p.m. debate stage.
Oh, there's a 5 p.m. We're going to skip that. Nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to see these old clowns like Rick Perry and Carly Fiona.
When I said, well, how are we going to get them to comply? I would have never released the sanctions before there was consistent
let's go over the Jeb and Trump.
Governor Huckabee.
Well, let's get this done over with.
In most cases, you identified as a Democrat. Even in this campaign.
Let's hear. LF Fun for 2. What are your thoughts on the Kentucky governor race? Daniel Cameron's our best chance. That's what I will say.
And your critics say you often sound more like a Democrat than a Republican, calling several of your opponents on this stage things like clowns and puppets. When did you actually become a Republican?
Oh, I love it.
I don't think they like me very much. I'll tell you what. I've evolved on many issues over the years, and you know who else has is Ronald Reagan evolved on many issues. And I am pro-life, and if you look at the question, I was in business, they asked me a question as to pro-life or choice, and I said, if you let it run, that I hate the concept of abortion. I hate the concept of abortion. And then since then, I've very much evolved. And what happened is friends of mine years ago were going to have a child, and it was going to be aborted, and it wasn't aborted, and that child today is a total superstar, a great, great child.
I always liked that story.
I
wish Trump would use that story more often when it comes to abortion, when it's like he knew somebody that was about to get it, they decided not to get it. It was probably the best decision they ever make. That's why Trump turned pro-life. These people that say he's grifting off the pro-life people. No. He learned what an abortion really is.
Other instances, and I am very, very proud to say that I am pro-life. As far as being a Republican is concerned, I come from a place, New York City, which is virtually, it's almost exclusively Democrat. And I have really started to see some of the negatives. As an example, and I have a lot of liking for this man, but the last number of months of his brother's administration were a catastrophe, and unfortunately those few months gave us President Obama, and you can't be happy about that.
Governor Bush, I want to ask you, on the subject of name-calling of your fellow candidates, a story appeared today quoting an anonymous GOP donor who said you called Mr. Trump a clown, a buffoon, something else that cannot be repeated on television.
None of which is true.
Is it true?
No, it's not true. But I have said that
Mr.
Trump's language is divisive. I want to win. I want one of these people here, or the ones at 5 o'clock, to be the next president of the United States. We're not going to win by doing what Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton do each and every day, dividing the country, creating a grievance kind of environment.
Oh,
We're
come on, Jeb.
when we unite people with a hopeful, optimistic message. I have that message because I was a governor of a state that saw people lifted up because we had high sustained economic growth. Our economy grew at double the rate of the nation. We created 1.3 million jobs. We led the nation 7 out of those 8 years. We were only one of 2 states that went to AAA bond rating. I cut taxes $19 billion. If you do that and apply conservative principles the right way, you create an environment where everybody rises up. That's how we're going to win. Campaigning in places to give people hope that their life is better, because too many people are suffering today in America.
Mr. Trump, 30 seconds.
Well, first of all, Jeb, I am very happy that you denied that, and I appreciate that very much. I mean, he's a true gentleman. He really is. The one thing he did say about, and I mean that, the one thing he did say about me, however, was my tone, and I also understand that. But when you have people that are cutting Christians' heads off, when you have a world at the border and at so many places that it's medieval times, it's almost got to be as bad as it ever was in terms of the violence and the horror. We don't have time for tone. We have to go out and get the job done.
That's what people like about
Subject
Trump.
of gay marriage and religious liberty. Governor Kasich, if you had a son or daughter who was gay or lesbian, how would you explain to them your opposition to same-sex marriage?
Well, look, I'm an old-fashioned person here, and I happen to believe in traditional marriage. But I've also said the court has ruled.
But how would you explain to your child?
Megan, the court has ruled, and I said we'll accept it. And guess what? I just went to a wedding of a friend of mine who happens to be gay.
Oh, cringe.
Because somebody doesn't think the way I do doesn't mean that I can't care about them or I can't love them. So
no, yeah, this is my point. No, when I say I'm against gay marriage, I'm not saying they shouldn't exist, that gay people shouldn't exist. That's just baloney. That people that say that nobody says that seriously. My whole point is these people have redefined what marriage is. So there's one thing of just saying, I'm against gay marriage. And that's just saying I don't want marriage to be redefined as whatever it is currently. But, that's the point. Zachary Marionette for 10. In regards to Mitch McConnell, would it be best to force him out immediately or wait until a Republican becomes governor so we can guarantee a single solid conservative instead of one of 3? I would say it doesn't matter. McConnell's gone. He's going to be gone eventually. It's either going to be like next year probably or later this year. It depends. He's not doing too well from everything we know.
If one of my daughters happened to be that, of course I would love them and I would accept them, because you know what? That's what we're taught when we have strong faith. So issues like that,
I mean, he's not
issues
wrong.
like that are planted to divide us. I think the simple fact of the matter is, and this is where I would agree with Jeb, and I've been saying it all along, we need to give everybody a chance, treat everybody with respect, and let them share in this great American dream that we have, Megan. So, look, I'm going to love my daughters. I'm going to love them no matter what they do, because you know what? God gives me unconditional love. I'm going to give it to my family and my friends and the people around me.
Like, that's my whole point. Like, if you're just saying you're against gay marriage doesn't mean, you hate gay people. It just think that, they have redefined what a marriage is. So that's the whole thing. And I know this is 2015, but yeah.
Senator Paul, in the wake of the Supreme Court's ruling on same-sex marriage, Carol Fox on Facebook wants to know the following. Quote, what will you do to ensure Christians are not prosecuted for speaking out against gay marriage? And will Christians be forced to conduct business that conflicts with their religious beliefs?
Look, I don't want my marriage or my guns registered in Washington. And if
First part
people
base,
have an
second
opinion
part.
that's a religious opinion that is heartily felt, obviously they should be allowed to practice that, and no government should interfere with them. One of the things, one of the things that really got to me was the thing in Houston where you had the government, the mayor, actually trying to get the sermons of ministers. When the government tries to invade the church to enforce its own opinion on marriage, that's when it's time to resist.
I'm wrong.
Governor Walker. Many in the Black Lives Matter movement and beyond believe that overly aggressive police officers targeting young African Americans is the civil rights issue of our time. Do you agree? And if so, how do you plan to address it? If not, why not?
Well, I think the most important thing we can do when it comes to policing is something you've had a guess.
Let's see here. $5 from Polite Rude Guy. I'll be honest with my daughter. Tell her it's sin against God. Well, yeah, you could say that, but to say that, they shouldn't exist, that's a whole different thing.
Don, who's a friend of mine, Milwaukee County Sheriff David Clark, who's talked to me many times about this in the past. It's about training. It's about making sure that law enforcement professionals, not only on the way in to their positions, but all the way through their time, have the proper.
So, Mr. Trump, if you were president, how would you respond to this?
I would be so different from what you have right now, like the polar opposite. We have a president who doesn't have a clue. I would say he's incompetent, but I don't want to do that because that's not nice. But if you look at the deals we make, whether it's the nuclear deal with 24-hour periods, and by the way, before you get to the 24 hours, you have to go through a system. You look at Sergeant Bergdahl. We get Bergdahl, a traitor, and they get 5 of the big, great killers, leaders that they want. We have people in Washington that don't know what they're doing. Now, I agree. Now, with Iran, we're making a deal. You would say, we want him. We want him. We want our prisoners. We want all these things. We don't get anything. We're giving them $150 billion plus. They are going to be, I'll tell you what, if Iran was a stock, you folks should go out and buy it right now because you'll quadruple. What's happened in Iran is a disgrace.
He's not wrong.
And it's going to lead to destruction in large portions of the world.
Okay, let's do
another new development today. Senior defense officials tell Fox they strongly suspect Russia was behind.
Okay, let's go to the final statement and be done because I think we get the point. I think it's just it's different if this was live and watching the entire thing, but some of these parts just suck without Trump. So let's get into it. This is where the last part is.
Statement, sir.
Our country is in serious trouble. We don't win anymore. We don't beat China in trade. We don't beat Japan with their millions and millions of cars coming into this country in trade. We can't beat Mexico at the border or in trade. We can't do anything right. Our military has to be strengthened. Our vets have to be taken care of. We have to end Obamacare, and we have to make our country great again, and I will do that. Thank you.
All right, that's the end of the debate. That was the end.
Thank you.
Yeah, we just skipped a lot of it because, yeah, some of it was at that point just lame. So, that's that. We are officially done reacting to it. I know we didn't watch everything, but polite rude guy for 5 will run for president in 2032. Youngest candidate will return America to God. Okay. So, yeah, that's the Trump I kind of want. You know, he tells the truth, and he says it how it is. And the fact is, he was actually based in 2015 and 2016. Trump now, I still like him, but the energy, I know he's older. I understand that, but still, it just seems like he's being forced to not be as energetic, you know? I think overall, that's the big thing I want Trump to do. Rap, your next debate reaction sometime in May will be the first presidential debate in 2020. I think it's going to be another primary debate, because that's where we're up next. We'll save the presidential ones for next year. That's what I will say. So if anybody doesn't got any more super chats, I think we're going to end it here. This was a lot of fun. This was a lot of fun reacting to one of the funniest debates in a while. I mean, my goodness, how did this not break the simulation? I don't know. So if nobody got any more super chats, send them now or forever go in peace. This was a lot of fun reacting with him now. Trump's a lot angrier. Yeah, it seems like he's not as, like, you know, he was entertaining back then. Now he still is, but yeah. So if nobody got any more super chats, I think I'm going to end the stream here. I got to get going. But yeah, that was fun. Fun reacting to just what 2024 Trump has to be somewhat like. Anyways, folks, it was nice watching this with y'all. If you did enjoy, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, hit that little bell, follow the Twitter accounts in the description down below, and of course, join the channel today. Thank you so much.